And so let's go ahead and go into our categories. I am going to, we're going to have news. Yeah, it's telling me we'll break links, but that's fine. I don't have anything that I'm worried about there. Let's take a look at what each of these is going to be. News, sports, technology. We have news, sports. Now here's what's important, because you see me type in sports up here, because that's how you would say it. And then you have sport as a slug. What I'm doing here is I want the slug to be the same value as the topic name that Newscatcher's API expects. That way I can use that information when I'm doing my Xano calls. So technology, world, finance. We're just going to go through and do each one of these. So there's the legible way. And then this is what Newscatcher expects. And world, finance. If I talk too much, I will forget that the next one needs to be finance. Finance. And then let's do one more, because this Webflow template and politics. This Webflow template allows for a limit of 6. So it's visually laid out to really need 6 to look good. Politics, there. So now what I've done is I've changed all of these to be what Newscatcher expects, as opposed to what the original Webflow theme was expecting. And we'll use that capability later, because what we're going to end up doing later, probably not this video because I always run long, is we want to create a function in Xano that will actually pull the items out of the category collection and put them in a topics table. And so I'm going to create that table here in a sec. But the reason I want to do that is I want what's configured in the website to drive what the Xano backend gathers in the way of articles and then publishes to the website. And that means if you were to go in and change politics to be business and republish it, and then rerun the functions that we're building here in Xano, you would then end up with articles that match that topic. So you can kind of control it from the website. And that way, the only articles you're really putting out on the websites are ones that match the categories that you've defined there. It may not be the best way, but it's a way that looks like it'll work the best for us in the moment. Okay, so we're going to add a table, and it's going to be topic. And I'm naming it topic instead of category because, let's see here. So I'm halfway thinking through as I go here. So for topic, I'm going to leave the CRUD to happen automatically. So they'll create those APIs for us. And we want to have a topic name that is text. I do my usual moving of the created at. And so there's going to be one more thing we add to that. So now I have a topic table. And the way this needs to work, if you remember for the API that adds a blog post, we go into the loop for add blog post and the API request. In here, we got rid of authors, so we'll get rid of that at some point. But in here, where collections, we may not even have it in here yet. Name, archive, draft, authors, body and description, hero image, link to. So we're going to be adding a new field to this to associate it to the category. and it'll be very similar to the authors in that we will need to have the reference number to put in there. So that reference number is specific to Webflow, which means when I get the list of items to populate this, I am going to want to put the Webflow ID in there. And let's see, Webflow ID. So we will have the name, and then we'll have the Webflow ID, and then we'll be using that to fully populate the articles that we're putting back out to Webflow. As you can see, when you do this without a script, silly me, it might feel like we're jumping around a bit, but what we're doing is tying categories in Webflow to the articles that we then pull back from Newscatcher. And these are just the steps necessary to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go a little further on this because we've got the get sites, we've got get blog posts, which is going to be very similar for us to what we want to do for topics. So I'm going to try something I haven't done yet. Since this get blog posts is very similar API-wise to what we want, I'm going to just duplicate this, clone it, and work from that. So it's going to be not get blog posts, but get categories. And when so you'll see that I'm now in get categories. It's like a save as, it's a clone. And you'll see that when I go back out to the list, I have get categories. And so what I'm going to need to do here is make a few changes because the Webflow API is getting items, and it's getting, I need to get the collection ID is what this comes to. And that's what gets replaced here, because this is for blog posts. So very simply, we're going to come back over to Webflow, go into categories, go into the settings, and we want to take this collection ID and come into here and replace it. And I have a really bad track record with things just working, but we're going to give it a try. There it is. I worked the first time. Yay me. So what we're getting back are news, sports, and you see the slug. So sports is what we want people to see. Sport is what we want to use for our topic that we use in Newscatcher. So then really all I need to do is, I shouldn't have got rid of that. That's what I need to do. I need to rerun this because I want to take a quick look at some of our data. So I'm going to be gathering response result items. And then we're going to pull out the data and put it into a table. So response result items. Let's see if we can remember that. And we're going to add in a data manipulation loop for each. And let's save that because, let's see, the list. I wonder if I can do it this way. Okay, there I am getting sloppy again, so I'm going to stop myself. Come back to API1 output. And this is Webflow category response. And let's just make it shorter. Category response is what we have here. And I don't know that we need it here, but we'll at least make this correct. Okay, so category response. And I am going to attempt something I haven't done before, which is category response is the variable, and then it is dot, response.result.items. I'm really curious if this will allow me to loop. And what I want to loop is I want to add records to the topic. And the name is going to be item.slug. The Webflow ID is, I'm not really sure, so we'll leave it alone. Might be collection ID, I don't know, might be item ID. But that should be enough to get us a quick run debug and a fail. Let's see what we do. Okay, things happened. I just as well look and see. So this is what I'm gonna, that underscore ID is the ID of this item, whereas this is the collection ID, which we're not interested in because we already have that. Let's go back here and make this item dot underscore, oops, can't do that because I'm making the mistake of not picking item so that the variable changes, dot underscore ID. Okay, so we've made that change, but I want to go look at the database to see if this actually worked. And no, because I'm getting item slug here, but it is getting the right number. I'm getting 6 of them, so I'm successfully getting the data back. And the problem I have is probably in doing this. What I was hoping to do here is not have to create a variable, which isn't necessarily good or bad, and just get the whole set of items and have it pull from it. And so we're going to cancel that. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to create a variable. To be honest, it's easier to understand if I create the variable. And this is going to be category list. And I'm going to get that from the category response. Category response, response.result.items. So if I have that named correctly, I'm not even convinced that's going to make the right difference, but let's say it will. I'm getting all my items. I'm then pulling out the result items list, and then I'm looping through. Let's run that, missing variable. Click on debugger and see where I'm before each loop. So I'm failing on my input, on my variables. So category response is response.result.items. So I got that right. And the category list has 6 items. So that should mean, go to the bottom of that. Guess what you have to do? That was silly. I actually have to pick the list that I created because it can't see it otherwise. Okay, so call the API, pull the list of items, which are categories, out of the response, loop through each one of those items and add it to the topic table. Just to make sure things are working, I'm going to pull all of that out. And now we're going to rerun this. And let's just be brave and refresh this. There we go. We're getting closer. I still got the name wrong, but we'll fix that. But the good news is you can see that we're pulling back the unique Webflow ID for each of these items, which means we can use that when we put blog articles back into Webflow to link it to a category as a reference. So now let's just go ahead and fix this name thing. For some reason, I'm getting the code as opposed to the value. So that's going to be happening in this loop. There it is. See, when you actually forget to pick the item variable and you just type it, you will get this problem, which is it just puts in the text you told it to do. But if I do this, dot slug, I guess if nothing else, you get to see all my mistakes and hopefully not make those same mistakes. And we're going to delete all of them, and we're going to come back and run and debug. And then come back here and refresh. Now we have everything we need. So we have the topic name. We have its unique ID in Webflow for the category in Webflow. So we're getting to the point where we could create a new function that will loop through every topic here, call the Newscatcher API, and automatically pull back 5 articles per topic and put those in here. So what do you say we delete all these, and let's see if we can create a function that uses functions to do this, because we're going to want to do the get articles. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to Newscatcher get all topics. Get all topic articles. Man, that's a long one. Okay. So no input for this one, but we are going to want to do a query, because we're going to get a list of all the topics out of the database that we just created. And then for each topic, we are going to call the get Newscatcher articles function, passing in a query and a topic parameter. That might be all we have to do. If I've done this right, it should be simple. So there we go. We're going to query all records. Look at me remembering to change this to be topic list. And if we go back into it and look at the output, we'll be getting a name and a Webflow ID. I haven't done anything with the Webflow ID yet. I'm going to need to do that, but one thing at a time. So we get all of those records, and then I want to go into data manipulation to do a for each loop. And I want to use my topic list, and the function at this point is going to be a custom function. I think we're ready for that. And we're going to use what we created. So we're going to call Newscatcher get articles. And if we go back into that, we're going to see that we need a topic. And guess what? We get to pick item dot name, and then a query, which I'm going to just leave as Elon Musk. Actually, you know what? I should must. That's pretty good. Let's just make it Elon so it's different than what I've used before. Okay. And so at this point, you know, that's interesting. This should work pretty smoothly. We'll get all the topic records, and then we will loop through each of the topics. And if I call this function once, it'll do an API call and then do its own loop to write out to the articles. Let's see what happens. Such fun. It's spinning. It means it's not failing yet. Okay, it failed on what we normally fail on. I'm pretty good at that failure. I'm going to fix that while we're here. We'll just call it topic list and save it so we don't get the failure. But what we should get when we refresh is a bunch of articles. Look at that. We've got 5 news articles, 5 sport, tech, world, finance, and politics. So you see, if you kind of build from the base up, the ability to get the 5 articles and write them to a database, and then the ability to get the topics out of Webflow, and then use a loop to go through those topics and call the existing function we already have. If you build up from the bottom like that, there's a lot less headache. Not that I haven't put you through some headache with all my debugging and errors, but we now have the ability, if you think about this, I don't have to do much more because I have all of those articles. What happens if I want to publish them to Webflow? I think all I'm going to have to do, where did it go, is use this. So Webflow Add Blog, it's going to go through all of the articles and call into Webflow. So what we are going to do is come over here and once again, delete everything we have. And I hear you saying, don't forget to publish, otherwise it won't be deleted. And I appreciate that because what we're going to do is publish so that we have no most recent articles. And we won't have any featured posts because we haven't done any automation around that yet to make some featured. We might do that though. That might be fun in one of these videos. So let me go back here and just see if running this, and it might run for 20 or 30 seconds or more because it is going through, what, 30 articles. And to do that, it's doing 30 API calls into Webflow. And since I'm on a free account, hopefully they don't limit my number of API calls because we're going to do a bunch of them. And so now what I should have is we're really getting to a news feed point here. There's still some things I want to do. Like we need to mark every article that we push to Webflow. We need to mark that in the database as being published to Webflow so we don't do it again the next time we run. So let me go ahead and go to Webflow. And we'll come out, and we'll do our refresh. Who knows how long this video has been going? This has been going a while. Look at that. I got items. I got lots of stuff. That is wonderful. Okay. They say 21 articles. That seems odd. Maybe it doesn't let me do all 30, or maybe it doesn't have them all published yet. I don't know. But looky there. And what I could do is where we got rid of the author, if you want, as your own little homework, you could add in the category name there, which would be cool. So there we go. We have articles. Let's call that a wrap for this video. What we will do next time, feel free to try it yourself if you would like, is in this news article table, I want to have a field, let's say a timestamp field. I don't know if I'll keep it that way, but to give you an idea, published to Webflow. And so what we're looking at there is we want to have this published to Webflow field such that when we do add blog post in this loop, not only will we add the blog post, but we're going to add in a database request to do a edit record back to the news article. And the reason that we're going to want to do that is that we are going to want to, do we have that ID? News article fields. We want to use the ID to actually item to do an update where we say the publish to Webflow is now. And then everything else we want to leave as is. And so that is what we're looking at doing next time. Maybe I just did it. I don't know if this will actually work the way I want. But since I just took you through it, let's just try running that and see if it fails or not. So while that's running, I'm going to switch over here, and there it is. I'm refreshing as it runs, and you see the published to Webflow filling in. So I guess we're not going to do that in the next video, because in just a few seconds, we've done it here. It's still running. It's probably going to be done by the time we get back now. There it is. So what we did there was to update it. And I guess if you do that, then you want to do a custom query where we add a conditional where we say the news article I may not have that article ID, original published date, topic, created at. I do not have what I want there. What I wanted to be able to do was in the query. Oh, it's going to be in the JSON. Yep. So we're gonna do this next time, because this will take a few minutes to think through. What I'm getting at here, I think I've just been babbling for like 3 minutes straight saying nothing. What I'm looking to do here is create a filter that makes sure that I do not pull back anything that's already been published. So we'll clean that up next time and make sure that based on this published to Webflow column that, you know what if I just figured out what my problem was, and I'm going to fix it now. I refreshed this page because when I'm working on 2 tabs, which I've told you before and I didn't listen to myself, when I change stuff here, it doesn't change it in the other tab. Obviously, they're separate. They don't know about each other. So if I come back over to filter after I've refreshed this, and I want to add a conditional, there it is, published to Webflow. Does not equal an empty space, which means these all have dates. So I should publish absolutely nothing, and it should run really fast. Boom, fast, because I queried records and got nothing. So if I were to come back to my library and get topics again, let's run and debug this. I'm going to let that run. And it did. Oh, get all topic articles. That's not what I wanted. Maybe I didn't name my stuff well enough. Or is it what I wanted? Okay, so now you'll see that I have a bunch of articles here. I just went out and got articles again, probably the same ones I had before. But what you're going to see me doing is deleting a bunch of them, because I just want to have 2 or 3 or so to test with. Let's delete those. So you'll see that I have all the prior ones. It was paginated because I got so many. I'm going to get this down to just 3 to 5. And then we're going to run that test again, because this has already gone so long. Why not make it longer? Oh, crap. I deleted too many. I'm on a roll, guys. Get all article topics, run and debug. We're going to leave them all in there, and we are just going to run it again, because what you're going to see is, as opposed to, how many do we have? Page 1 of 2, we have 60 total records. And if I go to page 2, I can delete all of page 2 at least. And then you'll see that we have all of these. Do you find that I tend to say I'm going to do something and then I do something completely different? I tend to. Okay. So there, we should get how many? We should get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We should publish 9 articles if my query, add blog post, if I set up my query all records correctly, then we should only get 9 more published. Or 0. Okay. Guess what? That's next time because I'm going too far. Next time, we're going to clean that up so that we only get the ones that don't have a date. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I hope this was helpful. If you do have any questions, please let me know.